we've talked a little bit about the tools and the drafting, and now we're getting ready to cut the interfacing. And whether it's fusible or non-fusible, I use the same method. And normally what I do is I put the interfacing on the fold, and I allow a little bit on each side. These are 10-inch long, will be finished 10-inch finished. So I could have probably cut it a little shorter, but I don't like playing games with, you know, 1/8 and 1/4 inches. To me, I like to be safe, and I don't really save that much by doing exact, like some people teach, cutting everything exact. I don't like working that way. Shirt makers don't work that way. I can guarantee all the ones I know don't work that way. But in this particular case, this interfacing is good quality. It's 100% cotton. It's a medium weight, this particular one, and I'll show you later on. There's a lightweight, and there's a medium, and then there's cardboard heavy, and which some men like. They like them to be real heavy, almost like heavy-duty starch type collars. But I would recommend, if you're starting out, that you would buy the medium. If that's all the money you have, this runs about $4.50 a yard. It's 48 inches wide. Out of 48 inches, I'll show you here shortly, I can get 13 sets of cuffs, which comes out to about 35 cents a pair for cutting the interfacing. That's not bad. When you start multiplying 13 times, $15, $20, you can make a good living doing it all day. But regardless, I have the patterns that I have drafted. The ones in red are the ones that have seam allowance, and the others are no seams. And none of them have any seams at the bottom that attaches to the sleeve wrist. And when I get to that point, I will explain that to you. But again, I always say to the students, know your materials, know how many you can cut from whatever width. Now, this is 48 inch. Some of them will be 45. Some of them will be 36 inch. And obviously, if it's 36 inch, you're only going to get so many. And so you have to know what the cost on that particular fabric is, so you can figure out your profit margins on your selling cost. But here, what I've done is I've taken the templates. And again, these are 10 inch, but I might have 11 inch, so my piece would be a little wider, and I would only use that piece for 11 inch, or I would use that piece for 12 inches, or I might use some pieces for French cuffs. But I'm going to remove the patterns, and I'm going to show you that I've traced around them, and I've stapled them. And I'm going to bring in the long stapler that I normally use, and I would just hit it and staple it. Especially if it's 12 inch, this little one's not going to fit, so you're going to have to use, it's just convenient. You can just go all the way through. These probably run $30, $35 today. This was the original one that I had 30-some years ago. This was all metal. This one here has some sort of plastic in it. Up in here it has plastic. So everything has gone to plastic, and it's a shame, but that's what it is. Anyway, getting back to it, I'm going to just run it from my right and run it all the way, and you can see where I've marked all the pieces on this particular unit. So I've got 13 cuffs that I have adjusted. And so unfortunately, I can only show you a little bit on the camera, but again, I'll bring in the stapler, because this is a heavy duty that I purchased from eBay. They're getting harder and harder to find. So here's the copper one I showed you, and here's the commercial type that you buy. So whatever you can afford, or if it's a can of beans, it's a can of beans. And I'll bring out my shears. And again, I'm going to tell you that, again, it's very important to get shears that cut at the point, because that's how you follow the point and get accuracy. And I'm just going to cut one out. You can see how I use the weight. Now, this particular one does not have any seams, and when we get to the sewing, I'll show you how that works, seamless versus the seam. And you would proceed to cut all of them the same way. Now, this particular one here, this wholesale was $4.50 a yard, 48 inches wide. I was able to cut 13 pieces out of it. So each one ran, the interfacing for one shirt is 35 cents. Remember, for the fabric, you're going to need 2 pieces or 1 piece on the fold for each cuff. So if the fabric is, say, $5.50, it's going to run you about 50 cents per each cuff side. So you'll need 2 pieces for each interfacing here. So it's $1. So right now you have $1.35 invested in the cost of each cuff. And if you're selling them for 25, you can see you should be able to make a cuff in 5 minutes. It's good profit. If you work efficiently, as I'm going to teach you in this course, you'll be able to make a lot of them. I'm gonna cut one more out, and it's going to be the round. And this is just to demonstrate how the scissors are so important. And let me cut the other side first here. I'm going to remove the angled one. When we get to the sewing, I'll show you the trimming. We'll go step by step. I suggest that you watch all the videos several times before going. I usually open it up on the fold. And what I normally do, this is the important part. Put some weight on it. And again, this is where it's so important to have your tip of your scissors that really can cut at the point, because you're going to follow the point. This is what's going to give you the accuracy. You need the weight. Again, you need the weight. And usually what I do is I put my fingers in front to hold it flat. Follow the point. And that's the round. And that's why it's so important to have a good pair of shears with good points. And when we get to the sewing, I'll show you how it's trimmed and how it's folded. I always make the cuffs with a clean finish, and I'll show you how to do the clean finish. I'll show you 2 methods, and that's all you need to know. You know, there's other methods, but 2 methods is enough to master, become efficient at using it. Again, know the cost of your material. How many can you get out of whatever? Some of the higher German quality interfacings are only 36 inches wide, and they can be $10 a yard. And so obviously your going in price is higher because that's what it is. And so it just depends on what you're using and how to figure out your profit margin. You must know what you can get out of your product. And what we'll do now is we'll continue with the tutorial.